Many people assume that celebrities are a modern invention, something that came with television, social media, or Hollywood. But the truth is, humans have been obsessed with famous people for thousands of years. The concept of a celebrity is much older than you may think. But who was the very first celebrity in history? Well, it depends on how you define the word celebrity. There are three strong candidates, each one from a completely different era of history, each one famous in a completely different way. The first candidate goes all the way back to ancient Mesopotamia. Around 2300 BC, a man named Sargon of Akkad became the first person in recorded history to build an empire. He conquered city after city across the ancient world, and his name spread everywhere his armies went. Stories about him were told for centuries after his death. Ordinary people knew his name. Scribes wrote about him, kings studied him. By every reasonable definition of the word, he was famous. But here is the problem with calling Sargon a celebrity. He was famous because he had power. He commanded armies. He controlled resources. He could execute anyone who displeased him. His fame was essentially forced on people. And that is a very different thing from what we think of as celebrity today. The second candidate is much more interesting. Lord Byron, an English poet born in 1788 who became famous so fast and so intensely that people struggled to explain what was happening. Byron published a long poem called Childe Harold's Pilgrimage in 1812. And almost overnight became the most talked about person in England. Not because he had power, not because he commanded armies, but because people were obsessed with him. His readers were called Byromaniacs, a term his own wife invented to describe the frenzy surrounding him. He was invited to every fashionable event in London. Aristocrats wrote about him in their diaries. Women sent him letters by the thousands. This was something genuinely new, a person famous purely for their personality and their work. No throne, no army, just words on a page and an image that people could not get enough of. Many historians consider Byron the first true celebrity in the modern sense of the word, the original template for what we now call fame. But if Byron invented the template, then the third candidate perfected it, and she is still considered by many historians to be the first person who was famous in exactly the way celebrities are famous today. Her name was Sarah Bernhardt, a French actress born in 1844 who did something nobody had ever done before. She did not just become famous. She managed her fame deliberately. She understood that her image was a product, and she controlled it with extraordinary precision. She courted journalists. She staged moments for photographers. She toured 5 continents performing to sold-out crowds. She had fans in many countries, decades before radio or television existed. When she died in 1923, mourners lined the streets of Paris for miles. One writer described her as the first artist to be eclipsed by her own image in her own lifetime. Another called her the blueprint for every celebrity that came after her. Before Kim Kardashian managed her image. Before Taylor Swift built a global fan base. There was Sarah Bernhardt doing all of it first in the 1800s with nothing but newspapers and sheer force of personality. So who was the first celebrity in history? It depends on what you mean by the word. If you mean the first person everyone knew the name of, that is Sargon. If you mean the first person famous purely for who they were, rather than the power they held, that is Lord Byron. And if you mean the first person who understood what having celebrity status actually was and used it deliberately, that is Bernhardt.